Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcast from Space Age, episode, whatever number this is, 10 maybe. Last time we landed on Vulcanus, got some basic stuff set up. Today we're going to get Metallurgic science packs done. We've got a lot to get through, so if you want to do the old like, comment, subscribe for me, that would be good. Other than that, we'll jump straight into it, shall we? It's episode 9. I lied. It's episode 9. Anyway, this was the state of the place. Not brilliant. Lots of things just sort of bootstrapped together, but that's fine. Steel, I'm not going to put steel on the bus, I've decided. The bus is going to be very limited, and it's going to be a lot of fluids as well. These engines are finished. Just wanted some engines so we could manually make some pumps, because as I say, we're going to have a lot of fluids, so we'll make a whole bunch of pumps. And we want petroleum sorted. Petroleum we can do, we've got the heavy oil, we just need some water. And we need to condense the steam back down into water in a cryogenic plant. That's easy enough. And this is really the theme of all of the planets, is they just force you to do things in a different way, in a way that just you would never have thought of, really, in a regular Factorio game. Oh, why don't we make it so that you can easily get steam, but you can't easily get water? That's interesting, isn't it? So we'll do petroleum. It's not really that different. It's not really that different. Okay, everything's going to be real now. Like, everything that gets built now is mostly, hopefully, going to be the real version of it. That I'm just going to keep there, and that's going to be the base. Until we have an excuse to do a very big teardown. But, so, I've redone the power plants, just so that we're using these big turbines. Now that we've got steel and stuff, we can make things quite easily. I've still got this one steam thing going into these tanks, but I've also done... So the ratio is 2 to 1 here on this steam. Steam and sulfuric acid... sulfuric acid and calcite will get you 2,000 steam a second from these machines. And you can condense it down 1,000 a second in one chemical plant. So, I mean, this is absolutely gargantuan amount of water for what we need. 720 a second. Like, there's more than half of a offshore pump coming out of the ground. And now that water also turns into... I was going to say now that water turns into steam at a greater rate, but that's irrelevant. We're actually turning it back. We can get heavy oil quite easily, as we had before, from coal and calcite. This is quite a big bottleneck, this process. This is not very fast at all. This is only 80 heavy oil a second, and that only gets you 4 chemical plants turning it into light oil, which then only gets you 4 chemical plants turning that light oil into petroleum. And you need the petroleum for the plastic, you need the light oil for the rocket fuel, so this is a bit lax. We can always bulk this out with speed modules and things later. Yeah, and so then we've got 4 fluids on the bus at the moment: the light oil, the petroleum, the copper, the molten iron, and we also need to plug in the sulfuric acid. And I think this is the best way to approach Vulcanus, really, is you need to bus a few things, but there'll be more fluids on the bus in the end than actual items. Because we're also going to need lubricant, because we're going to want to make electric engines for big mining drills, and something else that I forget. No, maybe it's 6 fluids. Maybe it's 6 fluids. Okay. Let's move on a bit, shall we? Now that we've got petroleum, we can make plastic quite easily with just some more coal. And now that we've got plastic, we can make red circuits quite easily with those things. This is huge overkill, these 2 foundries. for this amount of copper wire, but symmetry and future-proofing and stuff. What I have been doing, I regret not making slightly more foundries than this, because we've got 4 here making the molten stuff, 2 here on the green circuits. Even if I get rid of one of these, I've now only got 3 left, and I've been using the foundries to sort of do top-ups of things that I need, like pipes and steel, so that I can handcraft power poles and get some gear wheels so I can handcraft inserters and stuff. But it's if I'd have just made ever so slightly more furnaces at the very beginning of this process, I could have just left them running, outputting you know, the basic steel. Even with just steel, iron plates, iron gear wheels into boxes and copper wire into boxes, I would have been able to handcraft quite a lot of stuff. But unfortunately, I didn't think that far ahead, and as such, the demand for a mall is large. So I'm going to put a mall down, mostly now that we've got copper, steel, green circuits and red circuits on a bus. We can sort of do a basic mall. I'm also going to turn the bus 90 degrees to the right, much like it is on Now V's, because I don't want to go over this coal patch. So let me put a mall down. I'm going to use the basic mall design, but I'm going to tweak it slightly, because obviously we don't need certain things, and other things will be made in a slightly different, more efficient way. So you'll have to forgive the breakneck pace, because as I say, there's a lot to cover, and I don't want this video to be an hour and a half long. So let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. This is where I really started to notice a lack of having foundries, because I want to make iron and iron gear wheels and copper here for the wall, because I want to automate inserters, miners, assembly machines, power poles mostly. So this comes from the Mall Phase 2 design from the Episode 3 book. Obviously we don't need to make the gear wheels from the iron here anymore, we don't need to make the belts, we're still running off that first supply of belts that we had. Same with pipes, same with engines. I know you can make copper cable in a foundry, but it seems pretty irrelevant. Like, in fact, the only things that need copper from this, all of these are in fact the copper cables. So I could have spent a little bit longer and just made this design work with just copper cables coming out instead, but I was lazy, and this is not going to last forever. This is a very temporary thing. This mall will get torn down. So the bus, now that we've got all of these things sort of vaguely done, the bus is just green circuits, plastic red circuits, the molten items, which are still totally fine. It would be sensible to plug in this is from the Episode 4 book, the fluid monitoring items, just to keep a stock of some molten stuff, but it is still totally fine. All 4 of these are on output full. And I'm bringing the stone around because the lack of furnaces is now really starting to annoy me. And now that we've got a decent supply of water over here, we can use the stone to turn into bricks, and then we can start automating both concrete and refined concrete. Because concrete has a foundry-based recipe. Just put this somewhere where there's power that I can reach, which doesn't require the iron ore, just requires molten iron, so that's nice. But the refined concrete doesn't have a special recipe. You still need to make that in a regular assembler with steel plates, iron sticks, and some more water. But we need the refined concrete because the refined concrete goes into the foundries, and as we established last time, it's probably going to be a lot easier to run this tungsten ore over via elevated rails than try and find a route through all of this lava with belts. And now that we've got red circuits in abundance, we can just make some electric furnaces by hand to do the bricks. You can't do bricks in a foundry. Which does make sense, I suppose. Does it? I don't know. You can see the light oil is... all of the light oil is currently going into petroleum, so this will not have any backup until this is totally full, which it is now. So this should now be backing up slightly as soon as all these pipes are full, I guess. These are still just about working. Here we go. They're just this very moment about to hit full. So there we go. Now we should see light oil start going up. I guess these pipes have to be full as well. There we go. 300. That was good timing, wasn't it? Alright, let's skip a bit further. Okay. So we're going to need lubricant at some point for electric engines, and just we're going to want to make some robot frames on this planet as well. Just some. So we may as well. The bricks are being made. I decided to put it here. This will be a slow process until you actually start using, because the stone we're getting is a byproduct from the molten lava production. So this doesn't do much until everything else is being done. But that's totally fine. We'll put all the bricks. I just bumped it there because there was space. And then we'll bring the bricks all the way around here. Bricks into concrete, some steel, some iron, and then that steel and iron bars into refined concrete. And we'll just let this chest fill up. The other benefit of this is that the refined concrete and the steel plates and the iron sticks go into rails. All of this goes into rails. You probably could just get away with handcrafting these as necessary, at least while you're physically here on the planet. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The other thing we'll need in a decent quantity is carbon, because carbon goes into tungsten carbide, which we'll need a lot of, because tungsten carbide is used in the big two important buildings here, the big mining drills and the foundries. And of course it is done in the Metallurgic science packs, and eventually it will be done in the speed modules, but speed modules don't have a requirement to be made on Vulcanus, unlike the big mining drills, the foundries and the science packs. So just be wary of this crafting surface conditions when you're making your plans. Like, you can't just research foundries and big mining drills and then make them somewhere else. You have to make them on Vulcanus and ship them around. Whereas the modules is a different story. Tier 3 of all the modules can just be made on Nalvis, so that's good. That's good. And as you can see, I've had to repurpose these foundries somewhere else, because just literally make like 5 or 6 more foundries than I did. Especially because I decided I wanted to bust the fluid this time. In my first playthrough I didn't. I made all of the iron and all of the copper and all of the steel on a belt with foundries at the beginning and then bust that. But this time I thought I would see what would happen if I used foundries. Because obviously the fluid throughput of a pipe is so much more, like the actual amount of iron going through this pipe is so much higher than a belt. It's ridiculous. It's not even a comparison, really. Okay, so now we've got some refined concrete done. Tungsten carbide. We can make some tungsten carbide manually with the amount of tungsten ore that you just get from just generally existing on Vulcanus at the beginning. Like all of these trees and rocks will give you a decent amount to get going, and I've in fact been stockpiling it over here. So we don't need to worry too much about this patch to get the beginner foundries in, so let's automate foundries. The tungsten carbide build is a very simple build. It's just one item in, a fluid in. Sorry, two items in, a fluid in, and the tungsten carbide comes out. And obviously I'm just hand feeding it for now. This makes some, but not really that much tungsten carbide, and then I'm just manually feeding it into some foundries, just so that we've got some foundries. Of course, don't forget to make your foundries in a foundry, because they have 50% productivity built in. So for every 2 sets of ingredients you actually get 3 foundries. So that's, hooray, automated foundry. So now we can actually start replugging things in, fixing it. So like this, and that's not quite right. This. Iron chest is in the way. So this one's plates. They're both plates. Oh, that's why this doesn't make any sense, because that's just like that. That's just 2 inserters doing this. That makes more sense. This one's steel. And this one is copper. I've messed it all up. Everything's one tile off. I really thought I'd put constant combinators here to remind you which items go into which belt, because it also appears I've built this back to front, which doesn't make a huge difference for some things because they're pulling from both sides of the belt. Clearly I don't have iron gear wheels anywhere either, so something has gone wrong here. Something has gone wrong, but whatever, we'll fix it later. And also just be wary that you're still going to have to do belt weaving in this design as well. So I mean, there is definitely a better way to do this, and this really just all comes down to the fact that I didn't make enough foundries before I tore down the base, which then necessitated me having to repurpose them all. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. This should be... Let's fix this, just so that I can show you that it is working. This should be here like this. Where are the iron gear wheels going? Where were they going? Oh, I don't know. I'll just fast forward in time and you'll see that it's fixed. So we've got foundries automated. The next thing we want to automate are these big mining drills, because they are extremely good. Now that we've got tungsten carbide coming in, we'll make some electric engine units. They have 4 module slots by default, and they also have 50% resource drain. So that means that this is a very large coal patch, I realise that, but it's not very dense. Even this coal patch over here is 20 million compared to this 3.7 million, and this is much smaller. It's also been eaten by the cliffs. So this will run out, not quickly, I don't want to say quickly, but it will become an issue. It will for sure become an issue. We can alleviate that issue by using the big mining drills. Same with these calcite patches. This is 3.5 million and it's quite big, but this one is 76 million. Same with the tungsten ore patches are generally the same. This is your quote-unquote starter one that you have to kill a demolisher to get to, and then the next ones, the further away ones, are much more dense as well. 7.3, 14 million. So I killed this demolisher as well at some point, just so that I've got a backup here, which I should be able to sort without being on the planet if all goes well. So let's get some electric engine units made so that we can make big mining drills as well. So I'm using direct insertion for the electric engine units this time. There's no reason to bus regular engine units on Vulcanus. There's arguably no reason to bus them anywhere ever, but using direct insertion here, so this makes the steel, the gear wheels and the pipes some engine units directly into the electric engine units with some circuits and the lubricant that comes in. So the lubricant is also here on the fluid bus now. I should probably add this to the blueprint book. So let me just quickly sort that out. What do we need? We need... that needs to be lubricant in. We don't need any of this at all. This is all irrelevant. And we'll cut this off here. So you don't need copper, so it's just one belt of iron, molten iron in, a belt of lubricant in. This is circuits. I wish you could mark a belt like you can in Dyson Sphere program. Oh, I've already got that in the bloody blueprint book. What am I doing? Still a bit of a mess. Get rid of that, get rid of that. That power pole isn't really necessary either. I did put one constant combinator here to show you that this is lubricant. And I guess this should be obvious that this is... this isn't brilliant, is it? I could have done a better job than this. I think I've rushed this. I think I've rushed through this episode, folks. It's fine. Anyway, the blueprint's there. Same with the tileable electronic circuit build. So now we've got automated foundries. We can expand electronic circuits because electronic circuits go into red circuits, which we're going to use a whole bunch of shortly. Same with green circuits. There is a Mark II of this in a moment, which I will show you, and I'll add that to the blueprint book as well. So we've got the electric miners now, hopefully. What we need to do is just bring in some tungsten carbide, which we've got stockpiled over here. A whole bunch of it. So that we can make electric mining, big mining drills. And again, don't forget, make these in a foundry, because they've got 50% built-in productivity. You can also see here that I've added some modules, just some basic modules to be done, just because it's very useful to have tier 1 modules. They're so cheap, and so quick and easy to make that the benefit of, you know, minus 30% energy consumption, especially on a 4-moduled big mining drill, and just drag them over everything else that you're just not going to put other modules in, you know, like you can see, you can probably see the exact moment that the efficiency modules went in. If I turn the foundries off at the very least, you know, it was probably about here, you know, it was probably about here that it happened. And foundries do use a lot of power. I never actually checked, do you need all 4 of these in here? So down here in the bottom right, just keep an eye on this. It will tell you max consumption, but it will also tell you the efficiency modules can only go to a limit of minus 80%. So in fact, having 4 modules in each of these is overkill. 3 is enough, 2 is not enough. So let's quickly, let me show you how to do that as well. So in the upgrade planner, and I'm putting all my upgrade planners in the blueprint book now so that I can take them with me to space without having to worry about putting them down. You will go from nothing, and then you can filter that by entity. So a foundry with no modules, count limit 3. I mean, that's fairly obvious. But you can, what's less obvious is that you can right click to undo. So we'll right click to get all of the modules out. So that just does the opposite. So that does any foundry with 3 or more modules. Maybe it's any foundry with any modules. We've actually tested that. Yeah, so that will just take the modules out of any foundry. So if we just do a right click of that over the entire base, and then we'll do a left click of it to make sure that it's fine. So now that's only going to put 3 modules in, and that will just easily fix that. I've only just realised that, so as we skip forward in time here, you will see that that is not actually fully reflected in the subsequent save files, but that's good to know at least. It's good to know. We've learned something. We've saved some modules. Some very cheap and easy efficiency modules have been saved. Okay, we're getting to the point now, as well, where we're going to need to think about doing another shuttle. And as we found out last time, these shuttles take a long time to build. So, now that we know this design works, it's basically foolproof. We'll make a new one, and we'll just let that build. So we'll just do add space platform, call it something in a minute. We've got starter space platform being made in the mall already. We've got rockets set to automatic request. At least one of them was. They both should be on that. It's because I went to space in one and I never turned it back on afterwards. And then we'll take this design, but we'll take out this. If you include the space platform hub in the design, it's not the end of the world, but I'll show you what happens is that if you do include it in the design and you paste it over this... Oh my goodness me! Then you paste the instructions and the logistics groups and stuff like that. And you probably don't want that. You probably don't want that. And you certainly don't want to forget that a ship has a circuit condition, and then as soon as it's able to go, regardless of whether you're ready for it to go, it starts flying off to another planet, and it's like, oh god, no. So, yeah, if we just Control Z that, and I'll just take the blueprint. I mean, the blueprint is in the blueprint book as well, so I probably should just take the hub out of it, to be fair. That makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? Yeah. And we can plop that down like that, set this to auto request, and we'll just let this build in the background while we faff around, because this will take half an hour, probably, at least. So just don't forget to get another spaceship sorted. If you're gonna, you could also just only use the one spaceship and go in a shuttle run sort of system, but you may as well future-proof it at this point because of reasons, for logistical reasons that will become obvious as we go. Alright, so we're making good headway. We need to get this tungsten ore into the base, really, because we've run out of all of the tungsten that we had in the backlog, and we're going to need tungsten carbide and tungsten plates to make other interesting things that we definitely need. Mostly just the metallurgic science packs, but we'll want them in vast quantities, so let's get that sorted. The tungsten mines. The tungsten mines of Vulcanus, everybody. Am I 100% happy with this big mining drill tileable thing? No. Is it easy to do a tileable big mining drill design? Maybe, for somebody who's smarter than me. But you will see, you will notice that they're very large, which behooves them because they are in charge. But they're very large. And so if you have a row of them like this, and you just try and do your medium power poles like this one with the undergrounds, it is annoying because they hit exactly the output slot for them. So you think, oh okay, we'll just make them a bit closer together. So like, this one's one tile after the output slot, so we'll make this one tile after the output slot. Oh, it doesn't reach. Okay, we'll make this one. You know, there's no way, basically. There's no tileable pattern that isn't just using a large power pole for every single one, doing it like this, which I don't know about you, but personally I hate that. I just hate how that looks. I think it's awful. So I've done this. The big miners have an absolutely humongous mining area, 13 by 13, so it's less important that they're tightly packed in like this. Of course, these are only outputting on one side of the belt, but that's what these splitters are here for. And so this is at least tileable. Which is something. It certainly is something. I do at least notice early on with these that 4 efficiency modules is too much, it's overkill. So I put a speed module in this one, which does, you know, counteract the effect of the efficiency module somewhat. But this is still not that much tungsten, because tungsten has a higher mining time. Yes, it has a 500% mining time, which is a new stat for Factorio Space Age. Some things mine faster than other things. So the big miners will be extremely good on the coal. The coal just has a mining time of yes. Same with the calcite, I believe. Calcite just also has default mining time, so they're very good on coal and calcite. So I won't need to worry too much about them over here, but over here I've put the speed modules in just because. And we've got the elevated rails to bring them over. Managed to squeeze elevated rails in like this. I ended up using, what is that, 10 elevated rail platforms, and obviously 2 ramps, 1 up and 1 down. And the train, just a simple 2-headed train that runs backwards and forwards. I guess I should talk about train unloading. It's kind of a weird place in the episode and the series in general to talk about train unloading, but I like to do it roughly like this. If you outsert, if I just get rid of this to show you roughly what's going on. If you outsert onto a splitter like this, it naturally goes into 2 halves, which somewhat ironically means that it is unloading twice as fast. You would think that doesn't make any sense. You'd think that one item has to leave the arm at the same time, but that was terrible. That was a terrible demonstration. So you can see that this is working. Is this working twice as fast? Is that just a complete lie? Is that not how that works anymore? Is it because this is on a... Maybe that's not how that works anymore. Okay, so it's not faster. But what it is doing is it is balancing the belt a lot more efficiently than otherwise it would be, because it is filling the gaps quicker. So if I actually go into editor mode here, oh, and you can see I've not used editor mode yet. Here's your episodic map editor cheating check. If I slow this down, so if this is outputting onto one belt, then in the time it takes for it to swing and swing back, there are going to be some gaps. But then this side of the splitter, especially when you have 2 of these, this side of the splitter gets clogged up because this side is full, and so then this fills in those gaps in this situation. So as the inserters are swinging back to the chest, there is therefore a little bit of backlog here to make sure that this is then fully compressed. So with 2 splitters doing, with 2 inserters doing this, this is a very easy, foolproof way to get a fully compressed belt out. Now, of course, in this exact situation it's irrelevant because we're not using a full belt of tungsten ore up here, we're in fact sideloading it onto half a belt anyway. But, obviously it's good practice to just do this everywhere, so that all of your train systems are unloading in the same way, so that if you want to make a change, or if something's wrong, then, you know. I don't want to see this, you know? I don't want to see this from any of you, okay? Just... well, it would help if that was in the right place. I just don't want to see this from anybody. It works, yes, of course it works. It's just gross. And then into a chest, of course, always into a chest before onto the belt, so that the train can go and do other things, and there's still tungsten ore here to be unloaded. If you're really that fussed about how much tungsten ore you've got in here doing nothing, then limit the chest, of course. But what you don't want is you don't want this empty while the train goes off and loads. You want there to be a buffer so that the train has time to go and get more cargo and come back before this runs out. Alright, that's your 5-minute train unloading primer. Hope you're happy. Alright, so now we've got tungsten ore coming into the base, we can automate tungsten plates. The regular tungsten carbide is fine. We can get rid of these now. Oh god. I never showed you how the mall should be. This is how the mall should be. Except it should be the other way around. The steel and the copper should be on the inside. So these were originally short arms because they grabbed from this side. If you can see from the original, mall thing, these power pole machines were just using a short-armed inserter. So I realised they were wrong. And I'm also hand feeding in some red circuits to make the substations. But again, this is all very temporary. This is all very temporary. We just need to get this done. Yes, so the tungsten plates go on the bus as well, and then there's just a very simple case after that of using a foundry, of course. Do you have to use a foundry for these? Yes, you do. Molten copper, tungsten plates, tungsten carbide makes the Metallurgic science packs, colloquially known as Orange Science, henceforth shall be referred to as Orange Science. Probably should have put it on this side. Probably should have put it on the other side. There we go, Orange Science packs. They're round. They're in Erlenmeyer flasks. Yeah, I've watched Breaking Bad. Yeah, I have. And the terrestrial ones are made in other flasks, except for space science. For some reason. Interesting. I wonder if they'll change that. Probably not. They could have a sprite. They could keep this sprite for if you don't have space age, and change it to this sprite if you do have space age. That'd be interesting. Anyway, I've decided to go with 2 of these. If we get the old rate calculator out, 2 of these. Probably should put prod modules in them, actually. I don't think I ever put prod modules in. Anyway, 2 of these is still making 72 a minute, which is, you know, vastly more than what we've got on now these. These are 45, and then when we upgrade them to greens, assembly machine Mark 3s, to be more precise, they will be on 60. So 72 should be fine, should be more than enough. So we're done. We're basically done. All we need now, really, is to start launching rockets. But you'll notice that we don't have anything for that. We don't have the purple circuits. Oh, show my age there. Show my age there. We don't have the processing units. We don't have the low-density structures, and we don't have the rocket fuel. Thankfully, these things are all very easy to make with what we've got. So let's get it sorted. It's the same processing unit build. It's the same rocket fuel build, minus a few. It's the low-density structures that's different, because you can fast-craft low-density structures with foundries. So you just put plastic bars in, and then the molten iron and the molten copper gets you the low-density structures. So this makes 48 low-density structures a minute, compared to our build on now these, which admittedly is still only using Mark IIs. This also makes 48. So this is equivalent to this. Plus you don't have to bus the copper or the iron all the way down. So it's extremely strong. And then we're just going to put, you know, we're building rockets, we've got some productivity modules in there. I've never made any prod module Mark II, so I probably should. It's only 2% extra productivity, but it is an extra 20% energy consumption and twice as slow. So it's up to you really. Like, rockets are so cheap that even 16% extra productivity is probably not really worth it for the extra energy consumption and minus the speed and the not that the pollution matters in this save file, of course. I'm going to limit the chest to 2,000 science. You can launch 1,000 in a rocket, so I'm going to limit the chest to 2,000. I'm going to ask the ship to come and collect 2,000 at a time. That should be fine. Is the shuttle... Let's bring the shuttle back, shall we? Actually do the circuit condition. Go to Vulcanus. Wait until cargo item count metallurgic science packs is greater than or equal to 2,000, and then go back to Nauvis and do the opposite of that. Wait until metallurgic science is 0, and then off you go. We've done a few rounds of physical projectile damage. You see we're on 10 now. No, that is 10, we're on 9. So what did we were killing demolishers when we were on 7. So we've done 2 levels of this, which will help transport immensely. And I did a few other levels of... Can you see that in the... You can see that in the console, yeah. Steel plate productivity... Physical projectile damage 9, mining productivity 6. Yeah, cool. So we are ostensibly done here. We can't load the rockets without robots, so we're going to need robots. And we also, it's very important, in the same way that we left Nauvis in a good state, to leave Vulcanus in a good state. A state in which you can fix things remotely. There's certain things you can do remotely regardless. You can rotate belts remotely without the need of a robot. You can empty chests, you can set recipes for machines, you can do all kinds of things. But obviously you can't do any building. You can't do any building without the robots. So we need to get that sorted. So while we're waiting for the shuttle to come down, even though it's already mostly there, and the 2,000 metallurgic science to be made, we'll future-proof this base so that if something, God forbid, does go wrong while we're away, I'll fix this annoying flashing light for you, it can be sorted remotely. Okay, that process has begun. That process begins with making batteries to make robot frames. But while we were getting that done, the shuttle has made its way full of metallurgic science packs to Nauvis. And so I've set up the cargo bay here just for now with a simple system. This inserter takes everything out of the cargo bay that's not one of these two things. This inserter puts the space science on one half of the belt, and this puts the metallurgic science on the other half of the belt. So we've got 2,000 science coming our way. We've also got 8% productivity, so what's that? Quick maths, 2,160 effective science packs. Is that correct? Probably. Here they come. So that will give us enough to research cliff explosives. Hooray! Coal liquefaction is kind of useful. Especially because it gives us loads of heavy oil, which is better than with coal and steam. So we can actually get rid of the need to use calcite to make heavy oil now, in theory. Astral reprocessing is extremely useful, and it will continue to be useful. And what are these? These are all 500. That leaves us with another 500 to do... Ooh. Let's do turbo transport belts. Just so you have it. Then you have it. Then you have it. Hooray! It begins. Now you may see that it's going to be quite difficult to get any more science into these labs. There are ways to do it. Probably going to do something like this. You can't do that with red belts because they don't reach far enough, but if you have a blue or higher belt, then you can stretch them over like this, and then you can insert this way and this way. But obviously that's not relevant now. So the Vulcaner shuttle will just sit orbiting Nauvis, sending down metallurgic science packs every now and then. Let's just get rid of all of this nonsense. I did keep them in there just in case like we had a crash and we needed to replace these things, but I don't see that happening. We've been backwards and forwards like 4 times now. Never once had an issue. We're only getting stronger as we research more levels of projectile damage. Anyway, so yes, robot frames. You need batteries for robot frames, of course that's very easy on Vulcanus, iron, copper and sulfuric acid. So let's speed up, shall we? I did say I don't want this episode to be an hour, but it's getting that way. Right, robot frames, easy. Just some robot frames in a chest, so that you can manually start the process. These 8 things, on Vulcanus at least. This is the foolproof. This is the foolproof starter mall. Providing you have logistics access to these things here. So that is inserters. This is not relevant, this is a quality of life thing. As long as you've got inserters, roboports. The roboports isn't strictly necessary providing you put down a couple of roboports, but you want them anyway. Requester chests, storage chests, steel chests to make these in the first place, and some assemblers. That means that if you're miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away, you can get your robots to do things for you. So like power would be a good one. Let's start with making sure that we can expand the power network should we need to. Shout out to... oh god, I should have set this up before. Hang on, wait a minute. Somebody very carefully, very helpfully, I should say, said, why aren't you using blueprint parameterization for your mall? You were complaining about how the mall is tedious to set up, but yet WAG343. By the way, you might want to look into parameterized blueprints to save you a lot of headaches building your next hub. That is true. I forgot that parameterized blueprints was a thing. So I have set up for you in the utilities blueprint book a mall parameterization thing. I spent a long time playing around with it. Yep, as you can see, it looks like this. This is the. I won't explain it. I won't explain how it works. I'll explain how it works. I won't explain why I came to this conclusion. This is the way to do it. So you can take this mall parameterization blueprint, put it down. This will bring up a pop-up item to be made. Substations. This will automatically set this assembler to request substations, set this filter inserter to a stack of substations, set the logistics chest to substations, and then the only thing I'm a bit squiffy about is I've set it to automatically just request 1 stack of each of its ingredients, and that is mostly what is going on here. That is mostly what all of this is. You can do formulas for this, half a stack. You could divide this by 2 and make it half a stack only, you know, but 1 stack seemed sensible. There are some things where 1 stack is going to be overkill, there are going to be other things where 1 stack is not anywhere near enough. But for the sake of just having 1 blueprint that can do a mall request for you in like 2 or 3 clicks, this is the way forwards. The reason these are set to 1 1 1 2 2 2 3 3 3 is I noticed that every unique value gets a parameter. So the way I built this to start with was I actually used cryogenics labs. No, not cryogenics labs. Fusion reactors, that's it. Fusion reactors, because fusion reactors have 6 ingredients, which I believe is going to be the most. But because, interestingly, tungsten plates and quantum processors both need 250, it only gave me 1 variable for that. So it only actually gave me 5 parameterization slots when I first did it. So then I went into the chest and changed it to 111, 222, 333, 444 and did 9 requests. So that should I have forgotten something, and there is in fact something with 9, it's 7 or more items to request, or you're using a mod, this will work. This will in theory be foolproof. So this means that obviously it's a bit different on Vulcanus because you're making steel plates, you know, you've got gear wheels on the bus, you've got iron sticks on the bus for all intents and purposes because you're bussing the molten iron. So it's the same as on Nowvis, you know, we just terminate the bus, put what we've got into a chest, and then we can use that to sort things. And then with this blueprint parameterization thing here, so we can put the next thing down and say, oh, looks like we're running out of, oh, I don't know. It really depends. The point is we can do anything. Rail. Let's say rail. Now rail, of course, is going to be a bit weird because there's no stone on the bus. But we can fix that as well. As long as we've got the roboports on the bus and we've got the logistics chests on the bus, we can like do an upgrade planner to turn every non-logistics chest into a logistics storage chest. And we can just very slowly sort it out. You know, so we'll drag the roboports down here so that our belts and undergrounds are in this. Calcite will end up in a storage chest like that. I suppose then some of this stone could go in a storage chest over here. And, you know, it's not ideal to have logistics robots going so far away to do things, but the point is that they can. The point is that if an absolute disaster happens, we do not need to fly all the way back here to do this. You see? Oh, I upgraded the coal and the calcite miners, just because I could. And then your purple chests, just to get rid of your stuff. And we're out of here. To the Vulcanus shuttle. Just waiting on 2,000 science packs. It's because this isn't set to automatic, but it will be now. So now that we're on the platform, we can turn this back to set automatic requests. This doesn't have power, but that's easily fixed. So I'd like to think that Vulcanus is now self-sufficient, that if there is an absolute disaster, we have everything we need to... Oh, these roboport networks aren't quite connected. We have everything we need to just fix it remotely. And that is obviously very important to be able to do that. And it's now that, you know, these storage chests have been changed to logistics chests, so now we've got robot frames, we can just say, right, well, if I want some more robots, we can sort that. These aren't a logistics network, but, you know, like, it's clunky, but it works. In theory. In theory. Okay, right, well, I'll let you know. I'll let you know moving forwards if this works. Right, we've got the Fulgora shuttle. We'll go to Nowvis. We'll do a few things on Nowvis. And we'll go to Fulgora. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know with a like or a comment. It ended up being an hour anyway. Maybe I should have split that into 2 videos. I don't know. Let me know how you feel. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know with a like or a comment. And if you want to see more broadcasts from Space Age, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, yeah, that's everything. I'm pretty sure. Happy New Year, I suppose. Is this the first episode of the year? Technically, yes, because this is the first episode I'm recording of the year. Technically, no, because I recorded one on New Year's Eve that was released on New Year's Day. So, Happy New Year, I guess. Thank you, bye-bye.